This podcast contains an English accent that most of our Irish listeners will find offensive. Also, there may be some colourful language that you're going to find less offensive. Now, over to Ryan and Leon. Enjoy the podcast.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, you are a great lyricist. When did you write your first lyrics?
I think I was 8 or 9 years old, and the lyrics were, I'm running, and I'm running, and I'm running, and I'm running. Which I think is pretty brilliant, to be honest. I'm at the top of that, you know.
What rhyme with running, then?
I don't know, shortcoming.
Oh, nice. That's very good, yeah. Did your family encourage you to write? And
Yeah, my dad is up there somewhere.
Oh, you didn't say that. Hey, Dad, where are you? Nice to see you. Well done. And Mum. Wouldn't be here without him. Nice.
Yeah, no, my dad used to promise me a pack of football stickers every time I learned off a poem by heart. So I started to learn off all these poems so I could get the pack of football stickers, and then eventually I realised that they were having a kind of application in the way that I looked at the world, do you know what I mean? And it wasn't just there's a utility and a function to these things that existed outside the acquisition of football stickers, you know?
Yes.
But obviously, ultimately, the important thing was the football stickers, Dad, and you owe me a few, I think.
Yeah.
That was the voice of Grian Chatten. I think giving us a modern take on what it sounds like it might have been like for the guy at the airport who met Oscar Wilde at security after he said, I've got nothing to declare but my own genius. Just not able to keep up.
Were there airports when he was alive?
Well, what's the story there then?
Maybe he was at I'd imagine maybe a port. Not an airport, but a seaport, I imagine.
Why did I think it? You know what? Because I'm fucking travelling.
Oscar Wilde getting a fucking Ryanair
flight. I thought he was getting in an Airbus.
He's getting an easy jet to Alicante, he was.
You know what? I'm not even deleting that. I'm embarrassed and that's okay.
Keep it in. We're going raw. It doesn't matter. Oscar Wilde checking in with his 2 kids in the back, getting a budget holiday.
Come on.
Thomas Cook, he's getting a fucking flight to Mallorca. Putting the kids in the kids club, gonna have a few sangrias by the pool. Nothing to declare but his own genius.
It's been done.
Nothing to declare but his own genius had some low budget air travel.
Yeah.
Grian Chatten.
Grian Chatten, yeah. The interview was embarrassing for Jools. Like, there was a section where, like, he says to Grian, like, oh, do you collect anything? And he says, only compliments. And then Jools doesn't really know what to say, and he goes, oh, so you don't really collect anything? And then Grian's like, no.
I think Graham was obviously messing with him, like having the chats.
Do you think they didn't like each other, like, from that interview?
I think just Jools didn't know how to read him, didn't know how, if he was being serious. I think he didn't get his sense of humour.
No.
His sense of humour is obviously very kind of... He's British, though. He should get it. Like, it's like,
yeah. I
understand the missing translation of like an American not getting our humour, because like English and Irish humour is very and Scottish, British and Irish humour is very Scottish, or very Scottish. What the fuck am I talking about? It's very similar. It's very sarcastic, and I understand with like Americans don't really get.
Wait, what?
Canadians do kind of get it.
Yeah.
They have the kind of similar humour to us, but Americans, they're very direct humour and they don't get it. But like, it almost seems like that, like where he's not reading what he's saying, he's like taking it literally, which is weird because...
Oh, it's like kind of not on the spectrum, Jools, that day, but like not on the same cadence. And I guess that's why I wanted to share it with you. I wanted to share it with you first because he was talking about his dad and the poetry, but also... It's interesting to see someone with a poetic mind in popular culture just talking about, like, using metaphors in interviews and references that require you to go a bit outside the box to understand where he's getting at.
But he kind of got, like, the reference he made where he was saying, like, the record is like a snow globe. He picked up on that, but he didn't pick up on anything else.
No, but he kind of did. He also said, like, like when you shake...
He's like, when you shake it, it can be good. Shake things up a bit. Like, I think that's what he was saying, but he just didn't get his humour.
It wasn't able. But the part he says about his dad's trading him like Panini football stickers for when he remembers poetry, and then when he says after a while it became less about the stickers and more about the poetry changing his perspective on life itself.
Yeah.
That's an incredible thing to say, and it's dead on. Like whether you're a kid or an adult, I guess.
So the way to get your children into poetry is to bribe them, and then
Yeah.
the poetry will take over
Well,
after.
you know, we'll talk about the competition later on with Ran, and we do have gifts and prizes for that. So
We're bribing people as well.
we're bribing people as well. I wanted to dig a bit deeper about what he was saying about the poetry, and I found an interview that he did for Hero magazine in some of the prep that he was doing for the media work for one of his albums for Fontaines D.C. But then you said that you were at a gig, and before the gig started, it opened with a poem from Luke Kelly.
So what happened was, actually, I used to work, funnily enough, Dublin being a village, I used to work with the guitarist from Fontaines D.C, Conor Curley. Lovely fella from Monaghan. And we were working together for a while, and then we stopped working together, obviously, and he was in a band. And then I was like, you know, you keep up with people online, and I was like, oh, they're doing all right, like they're in America and stuff like that. And then I was watching Glastonbury, and they were just playing Glastonbury, like, and I thought, you know, like loads of people can play Glastonbury. It's like playing Electric Picnic. You can play a little small stage and nobody sees it. They were playing this big fucking huge tent. There must have been about 70,000 people in the tent or something.
Wow.
And I was like, that's Conor.
They're big.
It's like,
And that's him.
That's me, the lad I used to work with. And I was like, and he threw it all away for some rock and roll band. Do you know what I mean?
He threw a solid gig.
Do you know what I mean? He was on minimum wage, like myself, grinding away. He threw a steady job away for a fucking rock and roll band.
For a dream.
But I suppose now he's one of the biggest fucking bands in the world, like at the moment.
Yeah,
and if
yeah.
not, they will be definitely soon. So,
Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
they opened up their set of Glastonbury with a poem by Luke Kelly, "What Died the Sons of Roisin," and it's a fucking brilliant poem. So
I didn't even know that Luke Kelly wrote poetry. Like, obviously, I knew.
It's
I know he
a
recites
song,
poems
like it's a
and
song,
sings them,
but he also recites it, and obviously Luke Kelly in his gravelly, powerful voice does it better. Like, but I'd like to read it out for you.
I'd love to hear it. Yeah, absolutely, love to. Yeah.
So, for what died the sons of Roisin by the great Luke Kelly. For what died the sons of Roisin, was it fame? For what died the sons of Roisin, was it fame? For what flowed Ireland's blood in rivers that began when Brian chased the Dane and did not cease, nor has not ceased with the brave sons of 16? For what died the sons of Roisin, was it fame? For what died the sons of Roisin, was it greed? For what died the sons of Roisin, was it greed? Was it greed that drove Wolftown to a pauper's death in a cell of cold, wet stone? Will German, French, or Dutch inscribe the epitaph of Emmett? For we have sold enough of Ireland to be but strangers in it. For what died the sons of Roisin, was it greed? To whom do we owe our allegiance today? To whom do we owe our allegiance today? To those brave men who fought and died, that Roisin live again with pride. Our sons at home to work and sing, her youth to dance and make our valleys ring. Or the faceless men who for mark and dollar betray her to the highest bidder. To whom do we owe our allegiance today? For what suffer our patriots today? For what suffer our patriots today? They have a language problem, so they say. How to write no trespass must grieve their heart full sore. We got rid of one strange language, now we are faced with many, many more. For what suffer our patriots today?
That was For What Died the Sons of Roisin by Luke Kelly. I mean, even someone who's English, you know, like I'm very moved by that poem.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it's like pieces of Ireland are being sold, and pieces of Ireland are still being sold, but to internet multinational companies and to foreign investors and stuff like that. So it's still being sold off.
Yeah.
And it's like we got rid of one strange language and we're faced with many, many more. It's like Ireland has become multicultural now. We're faced with many, many more languages, and it's like it's how Ireland has changed. And it's still, he's obviously talking about like Irish being gotten rid of, and then all these different things. But
And that's the interesting flip, isn't it? It's not saying multiculturalism is bad. It's like we've lost our own, but we've replaced it with other languages that we don't understand. So the main one is the one we never wanted. So it's not as even if the sacrifice of the Gaelic language was worth like anything, because it's just the country's filled with like 10.
yeah, like it's obviously they're saying he's used. I think it's ironically saying one strange language, because obviously he's talking from kind of
An
almost
English perspective.
a Republican standpoint. I think
Yeah.
when he's saying that our language is obviously phased out, and it's still, but it's on the up now. It's I'll say the Irish language now is probably one of the it's the strongest it's been in 100 years at least.
There's a movement, isn't there? There's definitely like
the kneecap and stuff like that, bringing it back, and you've got the kind of even the Irish spoken word scene and stuff like that is on the up, and it's sexy to speak Irish now, which is great to see.
Yeah. A friend of mine said that a friend of mine who has his kid in an Irish language school, and he loves Irish language. He made a point to me in the pub the other week, and he was like, as soon as a country's language dissipates, that's when the country's culture dissipates. And that's a tough one to call, because it's a language that isn't commonly spoken like the common word. I do think he's right. I think like the passion for the Gaelic language, when it does, hopefully it never goes away. But even if it's just a small proportion of the population that are keen for it, I think that's very important. Like,
there's a really interesting. I use Duolingo, so I'm starting to learn Irish. Like I couldn't speak. You're taught at 14 years in school, and I couldn't speak a word of it leaving school, which is mad, because you think after 14 years you'd be able to speak it, but I couldn't.
No.
It's just the way they teach it. It's like, imagine going into you're 12, you're going into school, and you're being taught Spanish for the first time, but instead of learning how to speak Spanish, you're doing Spanish poetry.
oh, okay.
That makes no fucking sense.
No.
So I started like in the last couple of months using Duolingo, and obviously Duolingo has little mad facts that sometimes whatever, and there's more people using Duolingo to learn Irish than there is native Irish speakers in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's people
That's
that
amazing.
and that's people all over the world. Because even I can see there's a leaderboard they have in Duolingo, and there's people with fucking Chinese names, and they're learning. Like people with, you can tell clearly by the list of the names that they're not Irish names. Like they're from and they have like little flags of where they're from, and they're learning Irish. The people have an interest. And then you think about, you're right though, when you're saying when a language dissipates, the culture dissipates. If you look now, Irish culture is the strongest it's ever been. You think about acting, you think of music, film, you think of whatever.
Yeah.
It's the strongest it's been possibly ever, and the Irish language is on the up. So it maybe when the culture booms, the language, you get a sense of national pride, it starts to come back again, and it's working kind of vice versa. So they all seem to be on the up. Yup Ireland anyway.
Yup Ireland anyway. I want to share this a short poem with you that was written by Grian. Now it's a song. It's called Big, and it's interesting because like it talks about life as a young person in Dublin City. It's called Big. Dublin in the rain is mine, a pregnant city with a Catholic mind. Starch those sheets for the birdhouse jail, all mescalined when the past is stale, pale. Dublin in the rain is mine, a pregnant city with a Catholic mind. Slick little boy with a mind of Ritz, pulling that thread for the next big fix. This, my childhood was small, but I'm gonna be big.
That was Grian Chatten, Big.
Life is a young scally.
Yeah, I've listened to that song. It's fucking deadly, and it's nice to hear it as a poem as well. But his lyricism's fucking brilliant. Like, obviously their sound is great, but the lyrics are very smart as well. And I like listening to, because you can tell he's a poet the way he writes.
Oh no, you definitely can.
Like, without a shadow of a doubt, like a lot of bands, they have kind of a formula to the song. They have like a verse, chorus, but they mix things up sometimes. And then he could even just have a song where it's just like one big long narrative, which is deadly. And like he's obviously messing around with different kinds of ways of writing, and you can tell that he was writing for a very long time. So, but they're. I was only saying to you there before we were recording. It's like from what I remember, they met in BIM in Dublin, and like all successful bands, they never finished BIM.
Yeah,
they never graduated because every musician, I think Hosier was in there as well. Like, and a lot of people they study, but they never finish, they never graduate because it's a great college to get you involved in the music scene. But then obviously the music takes over from the academic, because you don't need a degree in music if you're already a fucking world class band.
Well, that's probably why. Well, that explains why I finished BIM. I did a year's modern musicianship diploma in BIM in 2016.
Really?
Yeah, I had a bit of a phase where like I must have been like midlife. Well, not midlife. I was 28. Like, but I wanted to be like Tom Jones, so I wanted to like go back to college, and I did one gig at the old Tivoli. You ever go to the Tivoli?
Were you playing music?
I was singing. Just sing.
Really?
It was a load of singers basically in the class. No one really played instruments.
No way.
To be fair, the diploma is used for credits really to get to college, and then you can do the 4-year degree in BIM proper. So like mine was like half mature students and half young whippersnappers who didn't really fancy it that much. I mean, just like to get the credits. But I met some great people there. But and I actually did perform "Home" by Michael Bublé at the Tivoli. Which is, I had a good time doing that.
Deadly.
And then that was like me going, you know what, that's that dream gone.
Well, I think about, like, what I meant about was that it's a great melting pot for meeting artists.
Yeah.
So if you want to be in a band, joining BIM is great, because if you meet people that are like-minded and get put into... It's even say fucking we did poetry singularly and then became mates and then started this.
And then
so
you're
like,
in a group of people that like it as well.
It's pushing you around like-minded people in order to start something that can take on something else. So like, I think because they met in BIM, they were singular artists that met together, became a band, and then obviously decided, well, we're getting gigs already, so you might as well just pursue the gigs, and went on. So like, I think it's being around like-minded people. And that's what I mean, the power of BIM is that you get put with people that you need to be around other creatives to fucking grow.
But that's like whenever I hear people, like, especially family members who maybe would have gone to uni but then kind of decided not to because they're worried about the money, and you're like, and they're worried about like taking a course that couldn't develop straight away into a vocational career. It's like, it's not about that. It's about being on campus with people who are thinkers, who want to better themselves and know that learning is a good thing. That changes your whole persona.
I watched a fucking brilliant interview last night by Alfred Molina. Alfred Molina is... Do you remember the Tobey Maguire... You know the Spider-Man movies?
Yeah.
Do you remember the second one with Dr. Octavius?
Yeah.
He's Dr. Octavius.
Oh, okay.
That's Alfred...
I don't recognise him, to be honest, but I do.
You recognise him as...
I watched Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire.
That fella.
Yeah, of course I know who he is.
So, Alfred Molina, but he's doing an interview, and he's talking about his father. And his father was Italian, and he's British. And he's talking about... He says when he was working as a waiter, like everyone in fucking arts...
Oh, yeah.
He was working as a waiter.
Yeah.
And this is years ago before, obviously, his acting took on. And he was saying that he was making... £35 a week back in the day as a waiter, which was very good money.
Pretty good cash.
Back in the day, right?
Back in the day.
But he was doing acting as well, and he was like, "Oh, the dad's like, well, you know," and he's obviously doing an Italian accent for his father, and he's like, "How much are you making, son, with the acting?" And he goes, "Well, I'm making equity, so I'm making like £15 a week." And the dad's like, "So you're making £35 as a waiter, and you're throwing that away to make £20 less as an actor?" And he's like, "Yeah, but I love doing it." And he's like, there's a very, very touching moment in the interview, and he says, "I wish my father had have lived a little bit longer, because he wouldn't have seen that I wasted my time."
Oh.
And he just starts crying. And then you're watching it and you're like, he's like, "I don't know if my father ever understood how I actually felt and what drove me to do it. And it can, if you dare to dream, it can come to fruition. You just need to take the chance, like, you know." But it's a beautiful interview, and he's just it's so heartfelt as well. Like,
wow,
you know.
It's one of them, isn't it? From a generation of people that they just see the cost of living, the monetary value of what you're earning, and not the value of like you said, being in a dream space or like chasing something. Because, but I guess, you know, people of that generation, we're talking like our parents. Our parents' generation.
This actor,
born in the
like
20s and 30s.
He's
maybe.
He's in his 60s. So like
people
his
born
parents even before that.
Yeah. So like but we've got to be lucky that we're in this world now, because back then you just had to do what got you through the day. There's no room for, and that kind of why I think in olden days maybe elitism and creativity were matched, because people could take risks, not worrying about whether or not they can afford bread.
So Oscar Wilde wasn't getting a Ryanair flight; he was probably getting like a Lufthansa or or an Air Canada flight. He was spending good money. He was up fucking first class. He was watching a few DVDs.
I cannot believe I still thought he was at an airport. Because the story. Where could he possibly be? He's going on a boat. Yeah, he's going on a fucking boat. Yeah, I swear. It's not a fucking flight.
He was checking in his bags. You know what I mean? He was going to go through the duty free.
I've got nothing to say about it. I've absolutely been done.
Get some cheap smokes. Do you know?
Actually, before we get in the competition, I read De Profundis not too long ago. Have you heard of that? De Profundis. It is Oscar Wilde's memoir from later in his life when he was in jail.
Oh wow!
So he writes it, and he writes it retrospectively about his own life and career.
Yeah,
and obviously he's been there for a while, and he's got nothing. And it's basically like it's like a 50-page memoir about like the value of life itself and his perspective, and how he learned through indulging in all of the vices that he could have done, but he deep down knew that eventually none of it really mattered.
Yeah. And
he doesn't say specifically that being in jail and having nothing was good, because he actually says it can't be. I can't say that because it's my experience and it's not.
Yeah.
But him being stripped back and reading his words from when he has nothing, it's just a brilliant read.
Wow.
It comes recommended if you haven't.
De Profundis.
De Profundis.
I'll definitely read that. It
was mentioned on I don't know if you listened to the Ryan Tubridy Bookshelf podcast, but when he has guests on, they share books, and one of the lads, Noel Fitzpatrick, who's the super vet, was on it, and he shared that, and I was like, fuck.
Really?
So when I was in Spain, I read it, I was like, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah, I'm always looking for good book recommendations. There's Ryan Holiday. Did you ever hear of him?
No.
So he does the Daily Stoic. So he runs like kind of
Daily Stoic.
Daily Stoic. Yeah, he does a lot of books on. He was Robert Greene was his mentor. Robert Greene did like The Laws of Human Nature. He actually did the 48 Laws of Power, which is a book that he co-wrote with 50 Cent.
What?
Or no, sorry, was it 48? No, sorry, the 48 Laws of Power was a separate book, but he wrote. What was it? He wrote a book with 50 Cent.
50 Cent.
Yeah, so
because he was in Power, wasn't he? 50 Cent. So maybe that's
So hang on.
The show Power.
Robert Greene, 50 Cent. I have to get this up because this is just brilliant. Yeah. So it's called the 50th Law. That's 50th what it is.
Law.
48 Laws of Power was a separate book, but the 50th Law it's like a book that he wrote with 50 Cent.
Amazing.
But was a fantastic writer. Robert Greene, you should definitely check out any of his work. And Ryan Holiday was his young apprentice basically that came in, but he would write. I'm going on a mad tangent here, but he wrote like loads of kind of books. His Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, all about kind of Stoic philosophy and how you can't change the external thing, how your life, you can't exchange what happens to you in your life, but you can change how you feel, how you perceive them, how you react to external things. And it's really, really good. And he would write a series of books all about that. The ego is the enemy, stillness is the key, all these different kind of things. But he owns a bookshop, bringing back to the original point.
Yeah.
He owns a bookshop, and he's always putting up big stacks of book of what he wrote, what he read that month or that week or whatever it is.
Oh, and then you can.
And I look through all of them, and you just get brilliant, different kind of nuggets that you never would have looked at before. So it's always great to have more and more kind of book recommendations. And that was a very long-winded way of me saying
book recs are good.
That book recommendations are good, and I agree with you.
Good lads. We've been running a competition for the last month and a bit with Fiona at the Poetry Edit, where we opened up the floodgates for new poets, existing poets, established poets to send us their work. And Fiona's been spending, she must have spent hours going through like 50 submissions in the end.
Yeah, she's did a lot of legwork. She put in the full shift there for that, but she's the professional, you know.
She knows the stuff, and she whittled it down to 3 poets. And we're going to share the work of those 3 poets. Now, the 3 poets that made the final. And everyone's going to get a package from Sinead's care packages. They're in the corner of the gaff. They're lovely. There's soaps, there's candles, there's chocolates. It's lovely. So you're going to get that in the post. But the 3 poets are Anna Nixon, Sapphire Allard, and Miles Pascal. So those are the 3 poets. Now, we've been reading them, we reread them, and then we sent them out to our Patreon community. And then they reread them and reread them and reread them and emailed us. But I think we're all on the same page of the 3 in order. What do you think?
The big 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think we've created a democratic conglomeration of readers, and we all seem to have come to the same evaluation.
But it was interesting because there were certain things that one person said, "Oh, I like that." I was like, "Oh, I didn't think about it that way." Like, so it's good to have a group review work because, like, you know, some people don't like a certain kind of poetry. Some people like this kind of poetry. Some people don't like metaphor. Some people like rhyming. So, like, it was just good to get all that feedback kind of grabbed in and have them, just open my mind as well of like things that I miss.
But even like poetry is so subjective that I could read a poem and you could read the same poem and get 2 completely different meanings from the same from poem, or we could strike a chord with you and not with me. So it is good to have a kind of, as I said, collection of people to read the same work and then talk about what they kind of figured out. So it's glad to see that we got blown away by the level of participation.
I'm delighted. And anybody that sent anything in, thank you so much.
That's fantastic.
Thank you. Like, honestly, it means the world to know that people are listening and sending work and inspired to write as well. So,
and thanks to Fiona as well for running the competition.
Of course, man, absolutely. Should we go into number 3?
We should go to number 3.
So we can reveal that the 3rd placed poem, and by the way, all 3 are amazing. So we'll talk about all 3. The first place poem.
Will we have the drum roll?
Is Miles Pascal with I Wonder.
Congratulations, Miles Pascal. You are 3rd runner-up.
I can't wait for you to read this now because it's really fucking smart.
I Wonder by Miles Pascal. What if December came straight after March and the birds just wrote the words but never sang the tune? Caterpillars started out as butterflies and ants came in 2s and 3s as opposed to their regular size platoon. If elephants had to write everything down for their memories were worse than goldfish, and frankincense and myrrh were the everyday essential items at the top of every household shopping list. What if those 2 and 2 actually did make 5, and the further the length of the conclusion you jumped to equated to a much, much better prize? What if the real you, no, the really real you, was actually worse than every bit of that disguise, and all that everything you have to better yourself came at your demise? What if winning meant winning for all, and no, not just for you, and we were actually in for the many and not just in for the few?
That was Miles Pascal with I Wonder.
Very nice.
Yeah, I think listening to you read it as well, because I've not heard you read it, it gives you a different perspective. Because, like, I felt tricked a little bit with the poem. Like, I'm like, oh, it's a fun play on words poem about the Noah's Ark and elephants never forgetting and all that stuff. And then it goes, vroom, takes you into something like, well, what if actually you're not 2 plus 2 is 5? Do you know what I mean? It's
about like perspective, kind of. But it's really interesting. Obviously, he's flipping things, you know. Obviously, and stereotypes of, like, say, elephants having a very, very good memory, but they have to write everything down. So, like, it's kind of already playing with tropes of things that would already exist, and then kind of flipping them on its head and making So it's really
and it's kind of starting with not trivialness, but like those kind of high level things that we think that we all take as gospel, and then I kind of felt like really dragged into the weeds at the end, like, oh fuck, Jesus, maybe I'm not clear as the references that he's making. Yeah, maybe not. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, very good. Well done, Miles.
Well done, Miles. Into our final 2. The second place poem I can reveal. Sapphire Allard with I'm flicking past news stories like men on dating apps.
What a name.
It's a banger of a title. I'm flicking past news stories like men on dating apps. Rishi wants to stop the boats. Kia reckons war crimes are self-defence. The ladies are no better. Suella is at it again. Being homeless is a lifestyle choice. Avocado toast or paving slabs. I am almost certain every poet I follow has written the line, "The world is burning." Do they realise it's flooding just as much, or should I say something? It is hard to know what's real these days. I got my husband on one of those apps, Click and Collect. Now he is in the garden, talking to our daughter about a dead wasp. He says the word dead so lightly, as if it were any other adjective. Heavy, perhaps, or rainy. I wipe my eyes. My hands are warm, soaking with the washing up.
That was I'm Flicking Past News Stories Like Men on Dating Apps by Sapphire Allard.
It put me in that, you know, a few weeks ago we said, like, it wasn't us that said it, I can't remember who said it now, it's like poetry is the window, not the view. Kate Tempest. And that poem took me to, you know, then like that mental space in the shower where your brain is bouncing off the walls and you don't really know what's going on. The only thing you can see is the shower head in the water, but your brain is going on an absolute fucking roller coaster.
But it's funny that you said poetry is the window, because she is looking out the window.
She's literally looking out the window.
And you think about your brain is going, as she's obviously ruminating while she's doing a monotonous task of washing the dishes, and then focuses on one singular thing, and it's like the stillness of the garden. But you can picture everything. You can see that almost like a movie playing out in the way it's written. That, you know, you can imagine the wasp in the hand, the close up. It's almost like because like in cinema, because I'll use my film degree to some degree. I never ever get a chance. I never get a chance to use it. But like they say in filmmaking with the camera, it'll always have like a wide shot. It'll move in, and then it moves back out, and they'll use that commonly in filmmaking. And you can imagine that it's like, obviously the world, you've got news and you've got all these kind of dilemmas happening, and then it'll bring it to like the garden, and then it'll bring it to like his hand of what he's showing his daughter, and then it'll go to, oh, there's an actual outside observer, there's someone watching in, kind of like voyeuristically looking through the window.
It felt like that poem felt like that. It felt like I was zooming on a news story, then I was back out again into the kitchen, I was in the garden with the father and the kid. Like, yeah, it was a real journey, actually.
I love it. I think it's a great poem. And I think and even like say her hands are warm with the washing up, it's like the familiarity of home makes her feel grounded, and her hands feel warm, and it's like being warm obviously is like being being like intimate, you know, you're in your safe space. Like the world is kind of mental out there. Yeah. But the only worry is how my daughter is going to take on the possibility of death by a wasp that I found at the end of the garden. Also, fuck wasps.
Yeah, mate, finally, thank you. Fuck wasps.
First poem I ever wrote was about how much I hate wasps.
Yeah?
Yeah. And then I drew a picture beside it of a wasp, and I wrote fuck wasps above it. I'm not
gonna question you on whether or not a wasp met its demise before or after this poem, but fuck 'em.
Fuck wasps. But anyway, congratulations, Sapphire.
Congratulations.
Fabulous poem.
Really, really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed that poem. So that means that the winner of our poetry edit collaboration competition is Anna Nixon.
Go on, Anna.
Anna Nixon, with a poem called, and it blew everyone away, really, A Stabbing by Numbers. And it's a real fucking hell poem, isn't it?
This poem it's a fucking cracker.
Yeah.
And the way it's structured, the narrative, the way how clever it is, that it's Harry Baker level of just like playing with numbers, and fucking it makes you think, and then the backstory behind the inspiration for the poem, it's just a fucking fabulous piece.
It's a fabulous piece.
Fabulous piece.
Would you care to share?
I'll try give it a. I'll give it
Stab.
a stab. I was scared you beat me to it.
Yeah, no.
I'll take a stab at it.
I saw what you were doing.
This is Stabbing My Numbers by Anna Nixon. 20 minutes walk from his house. Schoolboy for the first time, quiet as a mouse. 19 minutes to live, minutes to forgive. The knife held by the hand of a lad who's only 18, only doing what he was told. A body on the streets means a night he won't go cold. 17-year-old, still in his school shirt. The blood spurts and hurts worse than his last day at 16 when she said she didn't want no part. Top floor of Mackey's, ketchup spilling out of his heart. 15 and the ambulance arrives. 14 and they don't know if he'll survive. 13 and they're trying to revive. 12, the age he was when his dad went, remembering all the happy times when they spent at that age. 11, thought he was in heaven. Lived life so blissfully, happy little family, now he cannot see. 10 fingers held up by the paramedic. About to get on the ambulance when 9 masked knives round the corner. The paramedic flees as her training has taught her. This is a murder, not a slaughter. 8 p.m, the time of his first date. Nando's to be classy, wiping hot sauce off her face. 7 minutes till he dies. Mum's left the little ones at home to try and open his eyes. 6 lots of 60 seconds, she cries, tears mingling with red dyes of blood on a white shirt. 5 and there's a spurt of activity. Says he loves his mum for once, not timidly. 4, he's in a low flow state, no pulse. His mum's heart breaks. 3 weeks and his murderer's in jail. Amongst the other prisoners he's tiny and pale. 2 lives lost that could have been great. 1 to his prisoner fate, the other as his heart rate becomes 0.
That was our winning poet, Anna Nixon, with Stabbing by Numbers. And like you just said, say what you just said.
That's a poem that makes you glad that you read poetry.
Isn't it?
It's fucking deadly. It's so smart.
So smart, but not just smart. Like, that's the thing about structural poetry and using numbers in poetry. If you look at it on a page, it kind of looks a bit like, okay, whatever, smart for the sake of it. But then when, like, that wasn't that at all. Like, it was a real journey. I'm speechless after you just performed that, mate. Like,
yeah.
It took me on such a roller coaster. And I guess as well, I don't know how you feel when you see news stories about people's lives being cut short. But as you get older, I think you kind of, it hits you harder.
Yeah.
I think young people's lives being taken earlier than they should. It kind of goes, well, fucking hell, like, you know, we're doing, the moaning that we do and the things that we talk about and like the apparent pitfalls of like being a mid-30s man. Like, it could have been taken away just by someone just doing it, just taking it away.
Just someone could, but like, even part of our competition, you could leave a few notes alongside the poem, and Anna wrote in that poem was actually inspired by her brother, was a paramedic. So it was written about the training that they actually are trained. If a gang comes back, you have to just leave because they can't lose a paramedic to us. That, you know,
no,
they're so important, and obviously every life is important, but like, if they're coming back, you can't do anything against a gang of people like that. So you have to just flee the scene and leave that person by themselves, which is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, it's such a visceral poem. You feel that scene.
Yeah. You really do.
You know, and you can picture, as I said, you can picture everything in it, but it's you can feel it, not just picture it. You can feel that moment. You can, you know, and how easy it can be taken away from someone.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I loved that. I loved the fact that we were able to get poetry from people submitting and reading it out, and hopefully that's inspired anybody that's listening to submit your own work and like get your pen out and, you know, get creative.
I think, well, because that's it, and you know, poetry is for everybody, and you can write about anything. We're obviously poetry nerds. We love to read it, and I think because of the popularity of this competition, we might have to do another one soon.
I think we do. I think we will. So again, a massive thank you to Fiona at the Poetry Edit. If you're not subscribed to that newsletter, if you don't follow her socials, we're going to share it after this show goes live. Also follow the poets. So like Miles, Anna, and Sapphire, they're all on Instagram. They've got plenty of work that you can read through. So give them all a follow. It was great to be back inside, actually, doing this again.
Yeah. Wearing shoes.
Yeah.
And
we hadn't sat in front of each other for a while, so it's been I've enjoyed it a lot.
having running toilets is a luxury.
Yeah.
And I think when you're saying when things are taken away from you, and you're put back into the real world again, you realise that such things as running water is
And a kettle.
you don't need much. Just somewhere you can wash your arse in peace.
Yeah. But maybe we might do another on location.
A little day trip.
Let's see.
And a little jolly, as they say.
There might be something on the cards in August. Let's see. Leon, thanks for your time.
Always a pleasure, never a chore, my baby.
See you later.
Ciao, ciao. Mwah.